That would be the strong version, which I have.
I'm fascinated by all this attention being paid to translators, translation. First of all, I have to point out where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a logical perspective. I've always been interested in social structure and division of labor. It's interesting how, over the course of 200 years, somehow translator has been given a privileged place that formerly was not his. You know, at the time of the French Revolution, the only privileged classes were the nobility and the clergy. Then, okay, the artist began to affirm himself as a genius, as somebody endowed with almost supernatural powers, because he could create almost a masterpiece, almost ex nihilo. But somehow the translator was always in a secondary or tertiary position. But gradually, it seems to me over the second half of the 20th century, the translator himself has become a kind of creator. That I find so interesting.
Yes, I know. I think you're right, the way in which people have theorized about translations, but sometimes it feels like, and I don't always agree with it, it feels like translation and interpretation are one and the same thing. So you could say that the critic is a translator and not simply an interpreter of the work, and then the status of the critic, and it's elevated or down with the author. However, it is also the case that translators, actual, real, working interpreters, are still people. Those who work at the UN, the kind of Iraqi translators who work at the US military. That's very interesting. I was trying to do research on the interpreters who work for the Americans, the United Nations officials in Europe. It's very difficult to figure out who they are. I tracked down a couple of names, but it's really, you don't really hear them refer. I mean, who translated for Taft, for example, who translated for Governor General Forbes. I know Governor General Forbes tried to learn Tagalog, and for a while his Tagalog teacher was Lope Santos, who he derisively referred to as that little ugly man. And unfortunately, he did not ever learn Tagalog. I do not know of any American colonial official.
I'm sorry,
yeah, they were. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no. In fact, I can't think of any American colonial official who ever learned Tagalog. This is what makes American quote-unquote Orientalism different from European Orientalism, because Europeans were very serious about learning foreign languages, right? The whole practice of philology, which emerged in European encounter with the non-Western world, in fact, did not simply appropriate native languages, but they also took the differences of native languages quite seriously, right? So Orientalism is much more complicated than it looks like. And this thing everybody's talking about, this is something new, but that there's a certain kind of acknowledgement of the irreducibility, you know, of linguistic difference. And then just to quickly flip back to which is part about social structure, it's a very interesting point about social structure. The treatment of social structure, of course, changes with Levi-Strauss. And Levi-Strauss introduces the possibility of understanding society as language. Right? Society is structured like language. To understand society, to understand social relations, one needs to understand their grammar. Right? And so it's from then on, it's a short step between of the social as grammatical and therefore structured like language. Begin then to think of the salience of something like translation as in fact at the base. Translation as sort of the kind of the way in which linguistic exchanges take place. As analogous to the way in which social exchanges take place. So, but maybe it's just a difference in emphasis, not I'm sorry, this is such an abstract. I apologize for this. I mean, I tried not, in the paper, really tried to stick as much as possible on the ground, historical and sociological. And I'm sorry if it's turned out to be this. Well, I'm not, I'm not. But I'm sorry with everyone else because I don't mean all the other students, but I'm a paper. So, we could talk about somewhat more pragmatic. See, the This is, every time I come to the Philippines, it's really, because the Philippines really is a bad world, because you come here and people live in an environment that's constantly translating. I just said that. No? Whereas you go to the States, and the assumption is that you should all speak the same language, right? Whereas you come here, and there's this assumption that you're always floating or fishing, between one language and another, right? So, or several languages all at the same time. So it's a completely different linguistic ecology that you have in the Philippines versus the kind of linguistic ecology there in the US. Very different than from Canada. I did this, I did this paper in Canada. And Canadians understand it instantly because, of course, Canadians are, not only are they bilingual, but they're also multilingual too.
I have a question concerning the translation of religious texts. The religious texts, which also mentions Rafael and biblical.
Yeah.
I would like here, if we translate the religious texts, such as the Bible, in certain countries, we might use that translation as the what do you call it, the authorized text. Say some people would say Mass in Tagalog and in Bisaya. And that language, that translated version of religious text is in a way already authorized, similar to in Hebrew, in Aramaic, or in Latin. But in translating Quran, it's not the case.
Because the Quran is
we have the translation, we have the Quran. But if you have to quote,
yes, exactly.
you have to have the authorized quote and then the translation. And it's not really equal.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
And in Indonesia, you are not allowed even to pray in translation for Quran, for example. And in the case of Malaysia, for example, it is forbidden to translate the Bible. So what they have is Indonesian translation of the Bible, not really the Malaysian translation of the Bible. So if we have to question this, what would you say about translation, power and authenticity, or untranslatability, or whatever?
That's an excellent point. In the case of the Quran, of course, or in the case of Islam, you can only play in Arabic and classical Arabic.